The theme of the sequel to Gasland, Gasland 2, is that corporations, especially oil and gas ones, are essentially evil. So let's take a look at that. Here we'll just take a clip from the original Gasland of one of the people who was affected by natural gas drilling, talking about her opinion of companies.
Are they fined for a Divide Creek seep?
Yeah, biggest fine in Colorado history. $371,000. I don't think it bankrupted the company. The corporate business model is to come into an area, develop it as fast as you can, and if you trash anything, you make the people who you impact prove it. You make them argue it in a court of law, and the last person standing gets bought off and you move on.
So let's check on the facts of what she's talking about here. We actually have some information about her specific incident, and here's what happened. This is from Colorado State description of this entire event, and they have a documentation of everything that happened day by day. And what they saw is that on April 1st, she, or her father I think, actually complained, filed a complaint. And that very same day, Colorado State officials went out and investigated the problem in person and confirmed that what she saw was absolutely a problem. They needed to go back to their offices and get some materials to collect water samples the next day. And by the time April 5th rolled around, before April 5th, the Encana, the company that was involved in the drilling nearby, they had isolated and repaired the source of the problem long before these lab samples had actually come back determining that they were at fault. So oil and gas companies usually fix the source of problems very quickly because a leak of any sort involves some sort of valuable thing is escaping. They have a strong incentive to fix problems. But that's not the whole story here. There's not always enough incentive to do things right. We were just looking at what happened in early April when the seep was reported and corrected. Let's back up a few months. In that same document, you can see this is documented, that Encana poured cement down to cement the casing in place just like they were supposed to. They ran a mandatory cement log just like they were supposed to, and it showed a problem. It showed that the cement was a little bit inadequate. But they filed a report saying it was fine. And it's possible that there were multiple interpretations of the cement log data, but in retrospect, they admitted that they should have reported something different in their initial report. So they did not do what they should have. In February, they caused the seep, which didn't actually show up until April, and months passed and further monitoring and testing ensued, but even though the source of the problem had been corrected, there was still a whole bunch of toxic stuff that had come up to the surface that was all, mind you, that toxic stuff was actually all naturally occurring toxic stuff. It was all stuff from the natural formations that had escaped. Most of it was in fact natural gas, which is why when you look at those sections of the movie you can see that they light it on fire. It was nothing that they had pumped down in there. And at the end of August, all the hearings were done, and Encana received a $371,000 fine. That is, in fact, as stated, the largest in Colorado history. So I would argue that this is not a very good story for Encana, the oil and gas company. They did not do what they were supposed to because there really wasn't enough incentive to do things right. They thought they could get away with having the cement being kind of mediocre rather than spend money to fix it. Because, what's the penalty? It's not that much. $371,000, let's look at that. Really, these fines are totally insufficient. The money that they spent will go towards restoring and monitoring and doing future regulation, but Encana had $8 billion in revenue in 2011. So actually, if you divide that out, it earns $371,000 every 23 minutes. That's not much of a penalty or much of a disincentive. They were trying to save money of having to fix the cement, and the penalty was not big enough to prevent them from doing this again. So I would argue that fines need to be restructured completely so that they actually have teeth that will actually make a few more incentives for the oil and gas companies to do the right thing.